you just came from Pasadena last week calling Stanford and UCLA. How good is Stanford? I mean, national championship good, Stanford?
Boy, it's a tough thing. I mean, can I tell you after tonight, they got to go to Seattle and play Washington.
Sure.
And Washington's actually a slight favorite in that game. I think that Stanford is so incredibly sound, and Shaw has such a system in place, and boring words like the process and all those things that they employ to get guys to take it one play and one game at a time. They play such a different kind of football than we're used to seeing for the most part in college football. You know, they can win with 50, 60 plays, methodical, every play counts, they execute well, they're tough to move the ball on defense, they're sound. But I think, handling that in Seattle, what I love, you know when you deal with the NFL, the short weeks, right? That's always a component in the game.
Sure.
Stanford played a brutally physical game against UCLA. They beat each other up way more than people who don't appreciate Pac-12 football can understand. Physical game. But Huskies had to play a road game that went to overtime down in Arizona, then fly home. This is a rough assignment for college kids on the short week. It really is. It's arguably one of the Pac-12 games of the year. You know how TV works. Those bad guys in TV move games around so they can be put on national TV, and that's kind of what happened here. It's a challenge both teams got to deal with. If Stanford gets through this game, there's still a whole bunch more tests. I don't think they're a great bet to make the playoffs because I think it's just too much of a gauntlet. I think that's kind of the case for most teams in the Pac-12. But if they come out of there with a win, I'll be very, very impressed.
Yeah, we were talking about it earlier this hour, Chris, that McCaffrey didn't put up the gaudy 800 all-purpose yards, 9-touchdown game. He had 138 yards rushing, but he ran a lot between the tackles, and it was clear that Mora's game plan was beating the crap out of him and see how he could handle it over 4 quarters. And that might have been the most impressive game I've ever seen him play, just in that respect alone. And then we talk about the Heisman race. And it just drives me nuts when I hear, well, he plays on the West Coast. Shouldn't it be the Heisman? If you have a Heisman vote, shouldn't it behoove you to watch West Coast football and stay up late so your vote is well informed?
Of course. I think with more and more technology and more ways to get access, you don't have to stay up late. You can watch the game on any number of streaming services and get the highlights and be up to speed. And I think more voters are. I don't know how much of a West Coast bias there is, to be honest. I mean, I know people out there like to talk about it, and that's their only explanation for why McCaffrey didn't win over Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry was a pretty good player. Now, he was a freak of nature as well. It was a pretty close race. The power of Alabama certainly carries a lot of weight in the fact that they were in the playoff hunt. But Stanford's early loss kind of put Christian on the back burner. But I think people understand how good he is. I mean, if you don't, you're just ignorant. Iowa players showed up at the Rose Bowl and mouthed off a little bit. We don't really know much about him. We haven't heard much about him. He gave him a lesson in the first quarter. Anybody that shows up to play Stanford that doesn't have full respect for him is an idiot.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.